curious if they will prioritize a top lane pick. And they're actually going to go over to the red side. I did not expect this at all, Dagda.
I was highly convinced that we'd see them go over towards that blue side, especially as we talked about high importance towards this Ashe. It's for Jumong, it has pretty much been Ashe and Ezreal as the two go-tos. Looks like he's going to be happy enough sticking with the Ezreal here, but surprised to see them giving up the first pick potential here in this series.
So we are going to see the Zoe locked in as the final ban here from the side of WE. So we're kind of rinsing and repeating once again. Don't fall for the bait, audience. The Renekton will not be locked in.
Oh, well, the Renekton might be locked in, to be honest.
Sorry, I
know you meant Rengar. I know you meant Rengar. The Renekton might be locked in, although no, they are going to go towards the Ashe. Now,
I think
although everyone is yelling at me, blue side, pick one, Renekton's not good. For Morgan, he's got a red side pick one. And so if you want to take that away, get Morgan off of his comfort picks, that can work. But I'm curious now to see if LGD are going to rotate back in towards this Ornn. It looks like that is the case. So they are still going to be tending towards these team fights. They just think, right, we are going to have a better time now. With Mark in, we can go towards more of these aggressive engage style supports like the Leona, the Thresh, the Nautilus, and trying to have a better bottom lane setup so that then we can power through that.
The big concern for me is Mark has looked a little shaky as of late, especially with these engaged champs. The ban for Thresh coming through from WE towards Mark. This is not a pick that Mark usually goes for.
Not a lot of the time, but we still do see it quite a bit there in the bottom side of the map for them. So we'll have to see what the plan is. That was the pick that actually I was curious about, because when I look at, hey, LGD want control in the early game, I think Peanut on Lee Sin, and you can see WE were thinking that same thing because they're going to ban that one away. LGD are going to stick with El Clasico when it comes towards the bans, getting rid of the Karma, getting rid of the Silas as well in this game, and making sure that Teacher Mass still has to go back towards these more newer picks that we've seen from him.
And we'll see whether he's going to go for the counter pick in that mid lane right now, or if he waits for the final pick of the draft. Looks like they are going to go for this support once again. And honestly, WE just saying, look, it worked in game number 3. We're going to stick exactly as we were.
It works well against the Ornn, right? And against these Ashe arrows. There's a lot there that you can block as the Braum, so you just got to get away.
Look at the flip-floppy Chinese fans here. That we had like, what, 20% in favor of WE at the start of the last game. It's gone up by 12% coming into game 4.
All right, but into this draft, LGD now still looking for, looks like a mage in this bottom lane. Lux has definitely risen to priority alongside the Caitlyn, but teams have just, like, this happens a lot, where it's just a pick will rise in conjunction with something else, the Lux Caitlyn, and then teams are kind of go, hang on a second, Lux is just strong. Let's just go with her, especially into something like a Braum that won't be able to punish you very effectively. And now you've got this great combo you can set up where you can look for the likes of these long range Ashe arrows into the final spark from Lux. That's a lot of damage that comes out very, very quickly. And looks like WE, though, they're going to go back towards Teacher Man. This is it.
Yeah, WE screaming, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're going to go for the exact same draft that they had in game number 3. It got them 1 win. We'll see if they can find more off the back of it as well. But LGD, a similar composition to what we saw before. Missing with this Braum is going to be crucial in blocking the call of the Forge Gods from Lun Xing during these fights.
I think the bigger thing here is that once again, this game is going to be dictated by jungle pressure early, in particular from Beishang. And this is where he needs to step up to the mark once again. Get aggressive, get into these lanes, and make sure he's setting up WE for success. Because we saw, hey, look, WE, they can win these team fights with a gold lead, but it definitely looked a little bit shaky.
Certainly did. We're getting ready to jump into game number 4 of this series. WE managing to win themselves a game, managing to get themselves some momentum here, and we'll see if they can keep this rolling and pushes to the full 5-game series. But LGD certainly don't want to allow that to happen, and Xie has that Orianna once more. We saw some insane shockwaves in the last game. He's up against Teacher Ma once again in that mid lane. That's the matchup I've got my eyes on. Obviously, the junglers are going to set the pace of the game. When it comes to these late game team fights, both Teacher Ma and Xie showing us what they can do with these game-changing ultimates. It's time to head into game number 4.
WE， 加油！你们不只是少年。老干爹，加油！
We're on Summoner's Rift once more as we head into Game 4 here between WE and LGD. And if you are just joining us, the mid laner for LGD, Shie, started his entire career on Team WE. He's been on WE since 2014, only left at the end of last year, and now in the first round of playoffs has to go against his old squad, has to go against his replacement in the mid lane to prove that he is worthy of climbing up that playoffs ladder.
And as we pointed out at the start of the day as well, Munch, a lot of this series was going to be dictated by this mid-jungle 2v2. And we've seen Shie and Teacherma have gone at it back and forth, but so have Peanut and Beishang. And now, once again, Beishang and Teacherma in this game number 4 have the advantages in the mid-jungle. They've got the comment again for Teacherma. He's going to look to punish Shie. I want to see if there's any way Peanut can disrupt this or whether WE can once again find success.
And a lot of that success that they found in game number 3 was down to Teacherma on this Azir, getting some great Emperor's Divides during the fights. But also down to Morgan in that Dragon fight, crucially. So much of this series has been decided by these mid-game Dragon fights.
Well, it's going to get a little bit harder for them because this bottom lane is not going to go well for them. Mark has actually opted for an Arcane Comet of his own in that bottom lane. So usually we see the Guardian from the looks where they're like, right, we're just going to try and survive, going to get a lot of tanky stats. Mark wants to punish heavily in this bottom lane, poke out Jomung and Missing, and solidify this bottom lane as the fort of structure and strength for LGD.
You can see he's gone for the Spell Thieves as well, so very much all about trying to poke down the enemy, get the gold that way. Has the extra mana regen as well to work with in that bottom side of the map. And we'll see whether or not that's going to pay off for them on the bottom side. I'm really curious to see how Mark does, because Mark has been a point of criticism for LGD over the last few weeks. Some of his engages had been lackluster, his Leona, his Nautilus had left something to be desired. But certainly with still his stronger picks, this looks is not something that stylistically I would think of Mark for.
The biggest problem that I had with Mark was that a lot of his ults would just miss. His Leona's solar flares would consistently go wide, the Zenith blades wouldn't hit. It ended up being a little bit shaky. This Lux, though, will give them an opportunity to try and play from a little bit further back without having to go aggressive.
Hey, it doesn't really matter that much if you miss your ult if it's only a 20-second cooldown.
Exactly.
There you go, the perfect pick.
Same with the bindings. The bindings are on such a short cooldown that you should be okay.
Hang on,
Peanut, though, is now
here.
Beishang.
Peanut's in trouble as Beishang looking to punish the enemy jungler. We said this is the matchup, and Beishang knows it, but the smite onto the Scuttle Crab keeps Peanut safe. Now Beishang does have his own smite available. With Peanuts on cooldown, this crab could go the way of WE. Dodges away from the binding, flashes in to get the crab. Peanut still level 3 as Beishang moves away. Good damage coming out as Missing trying to block for everyone. Shie is here though. Missing's going to go down surely. Teacherma went into the play, but he doesn't have the backup from his team. This is so damn messy, but 2 kills go the way of Peanut after all of that in the start. And now Jomung will go down. It's Kramer to grab the 3rd.
It's a disaster for WE. Beishang flashing in aggressively to try and get the Scuttle was way overboard. He could have just passed towards swap side to get a Scuttle for himself. And as well, you have Teacherma going in, Jomung going in. What the name of God were WE thinking, Munchables?
They were thinking that maybe this was the miracle fight that could start off the game, but it's gone the exact opposite way, and now Kindred is snowballing.
And at this point, I was like, right, everyone back away. You've already got the push in that bottom side of the map, and usually when we see junglers pathing around the map, they will tend towards their strong side. That's why Peanut is down here with the power this bottom lane has. Now, though, WE are late to the party. Teacherma goes in aggressively and then ends up getting caught out, fails the flash over the wall. The TP's cancelled in that top side by the Renekton as well, but even if that TP came through, it doesn't matter. WE had already lost the plot.
So close and so far. And you know what? We were complimenting Teacherma. During the last game, we were saying, hey, Teacherma's Azir, it's pretty good. This is the guy. Maybe not off the back of that play.
Not the Azir, though. That's decision-making from WE. And when we just said, hey, look, you know what? Winning top lane, Beishang played through there. Winning mid, Beishang played through that. He goes down towards the bottom lane where Jomung and Missing are getting shoved in aggressively. Now that jungle matchup that Beishang was winning is heavily in favor of Peanut with the 2 kills. The Caulfield's Warhammer already picked up for himself. You've got kills going over to Kramer to just make that bottom lane even more of a pain for Jomung and Missing. This is not the start for WWE.
This feels very similar to some of the fights that we saw in game number 1 and 2, where it was like, okay, you already lost the objective, right? Back away. Accept that the objective is gone. Morgan wants to make something happen, though. He wants a consolation prize off the back of everything else. The lane will be shoved in by Teachamar as they want to make a dive happen. Shie suspects something's up, though. And they're going to get away with this one. Morgan just wasted his time.
This is what I love from Peanut. He does such a good job of reading the opponent and will oftentimes sit towards his lane, escort in these waves and make sure that they're able to back safely. And we see the results of it there. However, though, Beishang and Jomung might be looking for a play on this bottom side.
Yeah, I wasn't sure Jomung was going to go with the blast code there. That would have been a controversial play to say the least, with no summoner smells available. LGD will walk away with this one. Infernal Drake to start us off here. The binding just going slightly wide there, or just out of range slightly from Mark.
So LGD will need to hold off on this Infernal Dragon on the bottom side. You still got Longxing with no TP. Morgan has his available, so WE still have the potential to go aggressive on this bottom lane. But you see Peanut, he wants to make sure that they can make a play first to guarantee this, especially as Beishang is just backed. He's entered in towards that top side, and it looks like LGD should be comfortable to pick up the Dragon.
So good poke coming out from the side of LGD on the bottom side. Peanut's able to start this Dragon off. As you say, they should be able to get themselves a turret play on the bottom side as well. So advantage after advantage. The Hawk shot comes out from Kramer to spot the Beishangs on the top side of the map. And well, off the back, I mean, obviously off the back of that early skirmish, they're going to be able to find further advantages. They are 1,500 gold ahead, which at 7 minutes is a big, big deal. WE for them, it's more about stopping the bleeding.
Well, it gets really difficult for WE to try and do that, especially when we look towards the likes of this Rift Herald that's about to spawn. Kramer and Mark have been pushing so aggressively here. You can already see they're starting to get their backs. They can move towards this Rift Herald first, or they have the option as well to just keep playing down on this bottom side. You've just got a massive cash injection for Peanut, big cash injection for Shie as well. They can just look to use that power that they picked up in that early skirmish and transition that into a play on the top side.
Beishang going to be able to grab himself this blue buff as he knows that Peanut was over on the bottom side of the map grabbing the Scuttle Crab. He'll grab that and just skedaddle away out of the jungle once more. His blue buff is still on the map though, so maybe can still grab that one for Teachamar.
He's going to start up this Rift Herald though. LGD will be spotted moving in. Look at where WE are right now though. They're not actually in a position to follow up on this, so LGD have a brief window of time here to try and burst this down.
Yeah, that's the problem with Herald, though. You don't really get to burst it, generally speaking. But it looks like WE decided not to contest this one in the end. They'll return to their own half of the map. So, LGD finding themselves this objective to start us off here. They got themselves 3 kills. They got themselves the first Drake. Now with the Herald as well, they can continue to build a snowball that they are going to look to roll to victory.
And I'd like to see them try and use this in the mid lane. Although Shie is going to be a pretty big...
Oh, Shockwave wants to teach him, huh? Just going to be for a bit of poke here, just to try and force Teachamar out of the lane. Not going to do all of too much.
So from LGD's perspective, I want to see them crack open this mid lane turret, because if you can get this mid lane structure down, it makes it a lot easier to push waves in fully, then move over towards dragons, and LGD can set themselves up a lot more successfully, and actually might have a play coming in towards mid.
Teachamar dodges that one, dodges the binding, dodges, well, I don't know if dodge is the right word. Morgan sees his life flash before his eyes there. Teachamar will take a couple of hits from Peanut, but I don't think too much can come off the back of this one. Lance Respite available. Peanut flashes over the wall, gets himself the kill. Bear in mind, he still has his ult, but I guess he didn't really fancy using it. Beishang going to force a flash out of Mark as he tries to chase this kill through as well. Shie low on health and mana. Good answer here from Beishang.
Jomung and Missing moved up though. They now are not in a position to try and contest this wave. Kramer was shove in, and they only lose 1 or 2, but still it's LGD making these plays aggressively and trying to, as you can already see, make this Rift Herald play around mid. You've got 2 minutes until that next Dragon is up and available. They will be able to hold on until that Rift Herald then. And already, Kramer's working through this bottom lane structure thanks to Mark as well. So you've got pressure in multiple places here as LGD. The WE, with the composition that they have right now, with the 2 carries of Azir and Ezreal, can't really contest at the moment.
So for those that missed game number 3 here, let's talk WE's composition. What is the game plan? At what point in the game can they contest? Because obviously they fell a bit behind in gold to start things off, but they've actually just about equalized the gold. They're going to be about 500,000 down.
Definitely going to be the 3 item point where we're looking at, Teacher Ma having that Nashor's Tooth, going to be holding on to the final chapter. I don't want to see him complete that Ludens. I'd rather see him move in towards some of these Magic Pen items like the Leandri's Torment and Haunting guys, these guys first, and then go back and finish off the Ludens. I think at that stage, you're in a really strong spot as Teacher Ma. We already know the build from Jomong. The 3 items are the classics of the Muramana in towards the Iceborne Gauntlet and that Death Dance. And at that stage, that's where WE are going to be more than happy to scrap.
It's going to be the Herald dropped in this bottom side. This first tower taken here by LGD. Obviously not really able to contest from the side of WE. They weren't in position. Beishang couldn't get there. Missing wasn't on that part of the map. So it's going to be a nice little advantage taken as Morgan going for a pretty aggressive trade with Lunxing. He's able to trade it back a bit. Gets a knock up on the back side of the play.
So traditionally when LGD are in a situation like this,
Morgan could be in trouble here. Flashes away. Keeps himself safe, but that's a lot of pressure, and it was because Xie was moving up as well.
Yeah, needed to get out of there. Lickety split. Morgan just about manages to escape. I want to go back to the point I was making though, because this is what LGD do when they've unlocked Kramer on this Ashe pick, where they love to push in aggressively in this bottom lane, move Kramer towards this mid lane, and see if they can make picks off of this Ashe ult to solidify these leads. And especially when you're looking at this Dragon available in just 15 seconds, you want to make sure that LGD are grouped up together, but with Longxing using that teleport up towards that top side, LGD not really in a position as of right now to make a pick. This may just be going over to WE.
How about Beishang standing in Pixel Brush there, looking for a pick onto Peanut, which, after the first play of this game, I'm not sure if that's the fight that I'd be looking for, because it didn't go so well last time around. Jomon going to be slowed here by Kramer. Oh, the Flash Arcane Shift, that was clean from Jomon.
Just needed to get to a skinny enough part of the wall where he could actually get over, and manages to escape just by the hair of his chin. And LGD now will be in a position to hold on towards this towards this river, but WB doing a good job of fighting back. You saw that Enchanted Crystal Arrow is gone. Longxing not in a position. Morgan actually on the flank with a TP deep into enemy territory.
Morgan on this Croc wants to make something happen here. Longxing will be looking for the Call of the Forge God. Dominus already used as Morgan finds himself being pinched actually rather than the one flanking into the play, but he's got his team, the Dragon, dices over the wall. This might just be a smooth criminal here. Morgan, though, pulled back in by the Shockwave. The rest of the team going to collapse onto this one. Good knock-up from Longxing onto the rest of WE as they try and collapse. But Longxing the only one to get in. Nice Glacial Fissure from missing to disengage.
Still, though, WE will be in a position to clear away this minion wave. Won't be able to get too much here from LGD. 1 kill for the Dragon. It's not ideal, but WE will be happy enough to just start getting some of these Dragons in their favor.
Yeah, just deny the next Drakes coming out from the side of LGD. Stop them getting towards Soul Point, and especially when it's going to be a Mountain Soul against Ornn, you do not want to let him get those Mountain Drakes.
To be honest, maybe I'd actually be happier if WE given over a Cloud over towards LGD to stop several of these mountains stacking up, but you don't really have the best of foresight in these situations. Either way, LGD, if they get this Mountain Soul, are going to be so difficult for WE to get through. Teacher Ma, yes, is going to be super strong in this Azir, but multiple magic resist buffs coming in towards the likes of Longxing is going to make it very difficult to get through this front line.
Xie on the bottom side of the map here as Teacher Ma is going to be shoving that wave in. We've got a bit of a swap from our AD carries moving to the mid lane, as we will have a second Herald spawning on the map shortly. And I'm curious which team is going to try and put their foot down and go for that one. Obviously, it's LGD. Very much in control when it comes to the gold lead. They're 3,000 up as we head towards the 15-minute mark. You can WE doing a decent job on objectives.
You can already see LGD, though, they're in a position where Mark has moved over. He's got vision control down. They can look to use this long-range combo between Mark and Kramer to set up these picks. Longxing pushing in and starting to dip down into river, just lean a little bit in towards his own mid lane to try and see if they can pick folks off. Kramer still needs to be careful about what path he takes here, though, is missing. Wants to get in on top of him.
And, you know, Kramer's got away with it this series, but let's bear in mind, Kramer's built a bit of a reputation for not necessarily taking the best paths to objectives sometimes. Has been caught out a few times across the course of this year. This series has been looking good, though, so hopefully for him, he can keep his good positioning up around this mid lane. He has been very aggressive on this Ashe when it comes to trading. Morgan going to get away with his life here because Longxing just about misses the knock-up as Peanut starts this Herald off.
Yeah, Teacher Ma has got to deal with the wave that Xie pushed in this bottom side, and that's the power of cracking open these bottom lane turrets where you can create pressure elsewhere. So WE will need to back away. The rest of LGD are going to get on towards Jomong.
Jomong dips off to the side. Shockwave will be available for Xie if they can find an opportunity, but oh, triple Shockwave, the final spark! The combo is there, missing with a stopwatch to keep himself safe, but Jomong not so lucky.
Xie is looking so good on anything he gets his hands on in this series. Orianna Shockwave's on point. Peanut now off to the side, but I think you're going to have to back away from this one, although Morgan...
Yeah, Morgan might have stepped too far forward here. Peanut's happy to dive because he's got the Lamb's Respite. He's not even going to need to use the ultimate. And with the Herald in pocket as well, they can push for more here.
They're going to be able to get this turret, and LGD making plays to push back WE. And WE not respecting how long range LGD can engage from between the Shockwave, the bindings that are coming in from Mark Kramer and these Enchanted Crystal Arrows. There's so much you need to dodge, and one step too far forward to try and clear this out. And somehow Xie with the 3-man Shockwave.
That was beautiful. And I mean, it was already done at that point. We could see Jomong had already used his Arcane Shift. Xie against his old team has looked incredible this series. And Xie was a player that we criticized a little bit over the course of this year. He's had some pretty rough series. He's been inconsistent at best, especially in spring. Now, when he was on DMO, joins LGD, and we saw there was a bit of a time where they needed to mesh a little bit better, but the longer this split has gone on, the better Xie has looked.
And I'll be the first one to put my hands up and say, look, I doubted Xie, especially when we saw, yeah, some really nice performances, say like that Cassiopeia ult against top eSports, but they were few and far between. There was a lot of times where LGD as a whole looked messy, but LGD have always thrived when Xie looks good. This series, Xie has not looked good, Xie has looked incredible, and so have LGD as a result.
You know you're looking good on LGD when you're taking MVPs away from Peanut. Because, I mean, look at the man's scoreline. Peanut has been exceptional this series. And Xie giving even Peanut a run for his money when it comes to those awards. Missing steps forward to try and defend this tower. There is a decent amount of wave clear on the side of WE. Thanks to that Graves, the end of the line does a really good job of dealing with the back line of minions.
Oh, LGD.
This is tricky. This is tricky. They're not going to go for it. They realize that nobody's going to face check this one. They're just going to have to settle for the dragon.
And what I love about the style that's coming through from Mark on this Lux is that when we looked at Lulu in the last game, it was very much about, I'm going to super empower one member of this team, which was going to be Kramer, and we saw it work in a couple of situations. When you've got Mark on the Lux, he can empower both Peanut and Kramer with that Ardent Sensor. And when you got a double AD carry that's empowered with all this extra magic damage per auto attack, the attack speed buff as well, WE are going to struggle massively in dealing with just how much damage these two AD carries in LGD are turning out.
It's already getting to a point where this is looking pretty difficult for WE, but they're 5,000 gold down at the 5-minute mark, which is certainly not a good situation for WE, but it's also not the end of the game just yet. They can still contest for things, and especially if Teachamar can step up on this Azir, if Morgan can step up on the Renekton once more, these ultimates can change the face of the game.
I'm delighted to see LGD in this form, because we talked about at length some of the issues that we've seen from them with Engages not looking so hot, where they haven't been able to clean out games very easily. This playoff series, though, has shown a new leaf from LGD, and especially if they do pick up the victory here in this game and they've got to go on to face Invictus Gaming, they need to pull every trick they have in their bag out. And right now, that bag of tricks is looking pretty good as they're already sieging onto this tier 2 in the top side.
Should be able to at least threaten grabbing this tower here. They've got a cannon minion, but WE have arrived to clear the situation. Shockwave only onto 2 here. Final spot goes in, but Missing's tanky enough to survive that one. Tower survives for now, but it looks like Kramer and Mark want to push further forward. Xie takes a turret shot. Kramer trying to stop the recalls. Keeps Missing in the play. Morgan, in the meantime, will get a redemption to keep himself safe. Nice play from Missing.
Top lane, though, still is Xie and Kramer knocking away in this turret. Jomon can do his best, but without that true shot barrage, no real wave clear. Kramer may not be able to clear this before that ultimate from Jomon is up there.
Jomon just about, and you know, that was some pretty bold positioning coming out from Jomon. Actually used a true shot barrage to stop the recalls from LGD. So WE now have an opportunity to get themselves on the map and get some vision. That's going to be a third stack that we just witnessed Peanut grab for himself. But look at that Kentucky Fried chart on the bottom of the screen there, Dagda. 78.8%. The Colonel's liking what he sees when it comes to LGD.
I think a lot of LGD fans are, and as we said, LGD, the first time in playoffs in 4.5 years, and LGD come out looking better than they have all split long. This is going to give fans so much enthusiasm, especially as they start to progress on towards in playoffs, but they still have to close out this game. And the best way for them to do that is, as you can see right now, getting control in these side lanes, moving over towards the likes of this Baron that's up, and then using Long Xing's ultimate and these close quarter fights in jungles to set up for these massive engages.
Morgan looked like he wanted to contest for that blue buff, but I think realizing that that was not a fight that he could go for there. Let's just take a moment here and look over the items that we've got across the board, because both AD carries now on that 2-item mark, and this is one of the blessings of having an Ezreal on your team, is your first 2 items are pretty cheap, so you can get to that point a lot easier than a lot of other AD carries. And when we look towards the mid lane, it's actually relatively even between our 2 carries. Hang on. Beisheng looking for a pick here. It's going to be on to Xie. Collateral damage is available. Dodges the shockwave. Beisheng, you beauty.
Beisheng doing his damnedest to make sure WE stay in this series. Nice dodge away from the phase rush, giving that speed up, but picked back.
Jomon going to be stunned up here. This is a huge pick as Peanut gets the kill. Pick for pick. LGD managed to answer, and Jomon, that was his flash used as well.
WE have to move in towards this top side though, which gives control of LGD in this mid lane. They can look to push in now and try and get this turret in the mid lane. You can see backs have been stopped by Teacher Man missing though.
This is going to be really rough. Teacher Man caught out in his own base here as Peanut's going for this one. Empress Divide used, but Peanut still has the Lamb's Respite available. Keeps himself safe from the collateral damage. Zips out underneath the tower as well. Beisheng moving in to try and protect Missing. Try and protect Morgan. Trying to protect anything at this point because LGD are running amok in the base of WE. Flash forward from Mark. Shockwave comes out as Xie gets his revenge for the kill earlier. Peanut still surviving. And now onto this mid lane inhibitor.
And LGD are looking to close out this series. Morgan doing his damnedest to get through Long Xing, but he's just too beefy.
I don't think LGD can end things just yet, but my goodness, this is a showing and a half. And all off of the back of WE finding a play. Beisheng found such a great pick onto Xie, but because of the TP on the Orianna, it just didn't matter.
And TPs are how LGD oftentimes pull themselves back into a position where they're good. There's a pause for some reason as that dragon was about to go the way of LGD. But either way, you can see LGD are going to be pretty cool, calm, and collected. They are confident in this game, and I don't know why you wouldn't be. A 6,000 gold lead. They have been in control since the first scrap over that Rift Herald, a Rift Scuttler even. We didn't even get to the Rift Herald. This has been LGD putting a stomp on this game.
And you can see the faces of the players on WE here. It's a solemn camp on the side of WE for now, and understandably so, since they have completely lost control of the map at this point. With that mid lane inhibitor going down now, LGD are poised for victory, but LGD, across the course of this year, have been their own worst enemy, Dagda. There are time and time again we have seen LGD throw away massive leads. Now that they're in playoffs, now they're in these best of fives, LGD have to keep this consistent play that we've seen across the course of this series so far.
And that's the thing here, is that it's not like WE are just out of it completely. Like, they still have those 3 item spikes that we're talking about coming in for the Azir, that's Ezreal as well. The problem is just that you're kind of matched by LGD right now with the Ornn being able to give out all these Ornn items. Xie so large on this Orianna, plus Kramer's already working up towards a death stance of his own on this Ashe. So I think overall, you still need to buy time as WE, but your time is very quickly ticking away. When you look towards that dragon that's about to be picked up by LGD, putting them towards that soul point, then you got to look towards Baron as well, where look at the composition that LGD have. Could you imagine trying to approach a Baron against Ornn, Shockwaves from Orianna, or this Ash, or even the Lux bindings, especially when you're on red side and you've got to be the ones coming through these tight quarters. It's so difficult for WE to try and contest these objectives.
It is really rough for the side of WE coming into this one. So I've just been told by production, apparently it is Shie having an issue with one of his devices. That's why we've got the pause coming through. So hopefully it should be resolved relatively quickly and we'll get him back into the game and get things rocking and rolling once again. And since we're zooming in on that LPL logo, I'm going to assume that's happening here. Is the third Drake goes the way of LGD. They are now on Mountain Soul Point.
WE are going to rush Baron. I think that's the pings that are going down. They want to just go right. They're backing, they're low. This is our opportunity, but may not be in a position to do it fast enough, and it looks like that is actually going to be all she wrote. Jomung and Beishang not able to get there fast enough, especially with Kramer and Longxing still on the map.
Yeah, theoretically, I like the idea of the play, but when your carries aren't there, when your tank isn't there, and when your jungler isn't there, it's hard to do Baron.
They do it so quickly, though. Between Jomung, Beishang, and Teacherma on this Azir as well, you'd be very careful as LGD not to go for it, or at least get caught out by that play. So Peanut will, though, move in here and get all the vision back. And the push begins.
We're at this point in the series, aren't we, where WE now, they are looking for a miracle. They are looking for something to happen that can swing the game their way. If Peanut happened to go and try and push that wave, maybe something could have happened there, but nobody going to fall for this one on the side of LGD.
They're actually just going to back away as LGD. Rapid Fire Cannon completed for Peanut on that recall. Phantom Dancer actually finished for Kramer as well. So this is where LGD, they've hit just fantastic items for them right now. You've even got the Obsidian Cleaver complete onto the 6, 1, and 2 Kindred. And now they're looking to take over power.
And I love the build we're seeing out of Kramer here as well, not going for something like the Infinity Edge for more damage. Realizes he doesn't need to do burst damage. You've got to carry jungler. Damage is not the priority here. Get more survivability. And so that Phantom Dancer comes through. Knockup coming out onto Missing. He is going to be tanky. The Redemption keeps him alive, but not for long enough. Damage out of Kramer there. I guess the IE isn't necessary at all, as he definitely has the damage required. They're going to crack open the Azir Tower in the mid lane, but most importantly, they can move to Baron.
Stat check victory there for LGD when it came to bursting down Missing, and now they can turn over towards this Baron. Morgan does have his TP available, needs to use it now as he gets towards that mid lane, but WE, ooh, Jomung taking a lot of damage already.
Yeah, that was a little dicey for Jomung, but 5,000 on the Baron. It's all on to Beishang to try and steal this one, but he's already gone down. Peanut's the one to get the kill. Morgan's the next one to fall. Teacherma trying to slide away from the play. Can't even use his ultimate. And Jomung jumps in, desperate to make something happen. A triple comes through for Peanut. And Dagda, I think that might just be the game and the series.
WE unable to find any success against LGD, and Munchables with such long death timers. LGD will look to close it out.
And you know what? I might be heartbroken as a spectator, but LGD fans everywhere have their faith rewarded. Shie proves that he was the X Factor on WE. He proves he's moved on from the squad. And LGD win themselves the series and move on to the quarter.
Dragons back in their favor. They are actually, when we look at objective control, one of the lowest in our playoffs right now. We're seeing that completely differently now. In this game, they were very much in control of those objectives. They were looking far cleaner when it gets to those late stage fights as well, and even able to close out in a commanding fashion, whereas LGD of prior against like Vici, FPX, even some of their games against top eSports, we're trying to go for these backdoor plays with teleports, with Shie using the Destiny on Twisted Fate. It looked so messy, but that was not what we saw here today.
No messiness here today from LGD, and you mentioned Shie there. I'm over the moon for Shie, because what a win. Being able to beat his old team, but importantly, looking like this standout each and every single game here for the side of LGD. Looking amazing on the Orianna, looking amazing on the Sylas as well. Being able to carry these fights as a mid laner. And Shie is one of these players that is a veteran player and is someone that I had hoped for more from when we were looking at him back in spring. And now coming on to LGD, it feels like he's evolved and it feels like he is peaking for playoffs.
I don't even know if this is peak. I hope it's not. I want to see more from Shie because my word did he look absolutely amazing. And the beauty of this was that we saw it on so many different champions. Saw the Zoe in game number 1, which commanded respect and got banned away. The Sylas, which then ended up in the exact same situation. And then we get over towards this last 2 games where Orianna tried to carry in game number 3, wasn't quite able to do it. But in game number 4, he certainly did it.
And look at the team damage coming out from LGD here. Such an even spread. The team really working together. Peanut on this Kindred as well. Looking fantastic during some of these picks. Being so aggressive around the mid lane. We saw him diving tier 2s multiple times throughout the game. I love watching Peanut play a carry in the jungle.
When Peanut gets ahead, there is nothing better. And that's why it's such a beauty to watch LGD when they're thriving. Because as you talked about, the experience, the veterancy, the caliber of players on this team when they get ahead, like Peanut, like Shie, even Longxing setting up for some of these magnificent engages on Ornn. Like, you get to see what this squad is capable of. And even though we didn't, like, Kramer is still more than capable of making these plays too. The only difference was he didn't get a chance to. Everyone else was stepping up so massively for LGD that Kramer just got to put his feet up and go, yeah, cool, I'll pew-pew from back here.
Yeah, Kramer's just chilling because Peanut, he's played on the world stage multiple times. He's won MSI. He's won the LCK multiple times. He wants to get to that international stage again, and you could feel it in this series that he was trying his damnedest to get these wins as fast as possible as well. And I think that's the important thing, is the speed at which LGD was winning these games, because if there's one big criticism for LGD across the course of this split, it was that they weren't really the best at pushing their advantages. They were quite happy to just play it slow and wait for the opponent to make a mistake. But in this series, they were being proactive. They were setting up their own plays, and they were finding objectives off the back.
Yeah, they have one of the longest win times in the LPL. They have the longest game time in the LPL. So the fact that they were able to find these convincing wins was super strong for them. So I'm super happy to see LGD managing to fix a lot of the issues that we saw, especially in playoffs. Like, this is something you kind of go, oh yeah, as we get through the split, we start to see it improve little by little. That wasn't it at all. In their last few series, they have not looked good when it gets to the late game.
Yeah.
Here, though, they knew how to close out. They knew how to play against WE. And whatever it is about playoffs and these veterans, they know exactly where they need to have that clutch potential.
They've been in these pressure situations once again. And I want to talk about Kramer as well, because he looked great on this Ashe time and time again. Obviously, like, we've seen Kramer play a ton of Ashe, but importantly, not getting caught out. And this was against a team that is more than happy to catch you out. Like, WE thrive off of catching people out, but Kramer not falling into old mistakes, not being the guy to get caught out and throw a lead for the side of LGD. And it meant that, obviously, the more consistent he is, it does allow people like Shie, like Peanut in the jungle, to pop off and carry the games. And he can play this more utility style.
And that's the thing. We even saw in Game 3 that WE were trying to make that their game plan. Get onto Kramer, see if we can pick him off, and then we can turn the fight in their favor. Kramer was in good position, so it made it really difficult to try and do that. He was very quick with those flashes as well, far quicker than I could have even possibly been, and really made it known that this is the new style that we're going to see from LGD, where you can't just look to go, all right, well, we'll wait till late game, they're going to make a bunch of mistakes. Well, now you've got to figure out, okay, well, if they get a lead, they can actually snowball this. So how do we then try and fight in the early game? Well, we just saw WE struggle with that, even though they had a composition that could have worked around those early game points, but ended up just giving 1 or 2 mistakes. LGD snowball, and now this is an LGD that looks far more potent than they ever have.
They certainly do. And we've got some highlights of Peanut coming out of game number 4 as well, because his Kindred was just magnificent to watch. We can roll some clips here. And, I mean, this level 1 fight, obviously, well, not level 1, but early game fight going pretty disastrously for WE.
Yeah, this was a bit of a weird pathing thing from Beishang, but definitely Peanut playing towards the strengths. We said, hey, look, you've got a pushing bottom lane in Kramer and Mark. They get to react first, and that's the difference maker here. You can see how low those health bars are. If you manage to have Jomung and missing there a little bit earlier, that could have swung it in their favor, but 2 kills go the way of Peanut, and from that point forward, he doesn't care. He's taking over, and he looks magnificent while he does it.
And these are the tier 2 tower dives I was talking about. Great pick coming through onto Jomung. He flashed the wrong direction and gets caught out for it, and then Peanut just diving into the base.
And it looks like we need to add another thing to that King of Thieves that we were talking about. Steals your life in the early stage of the game, steals your Baron, steals your heart with his smiles, but also steals your place in playoffs as they manage to knock WE out of contention.
Beautiful stuff out of LGD, most specifically Peanut, 9, 1, and 3, looking amazing, and that's going to be his 5th MVP of the split as well. Beautiful stuff, and one of the few players that is still willing to pick this Kindred in the jungle.
Well, this is the thing. We actually expect to see a lot more of these carry junglers, but you can see just how much it struggles against the likes of Graves. You just can't keep up when it comes to the clear. And this game could have gone oh so differently if Beishang hadn't actually gone towards that scuttle on the bottom side of the map. But this is what Peanut does best. You give him a lead, he is going to run away with it. And you can see there, 9-1 by the end of the game off of just one little scuttle fight that ruined everything for WE.
It was disastrous for WE. And here's the thing, all 3 of those losses were weird fights around the river for WE that started a massive snowball in favor of LGD. And I don't want to take anything away from LGD here because obviously they did a great job of snowballing this. They did a great job of holding on to those gold leads and expanding them. But WE, these river fights were meant to be your strength.
It's the salty WE fan.
This is meant to be where they're at their best. Everything looking disastrous at WE here. And I think back to the drawing board going back into 2021.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think still though, WE, this playstyle that they've perfected to a certain extent is looked really good for them. I wouldn't be surprised to see them still trying to run with this, but we'll have to see if they do manage to, or decide to swap things up a little bit. Either way though, I think we can be very confident in looking at LGD going in towards their next playoff.
Well, we're going to head back over to the stage because we've got a winner's interview off the back of our last round 1 match here. Let's head back over to the arena, see what our winners have to say.